Hey guys, it's Tom here, and today I'm going to be talking about The Iron Lady, directed by Phyllida Lloyd, written by Abi Morgan, and starring Meryl Streep, Jim Broadbent, and Olivia Colman. The film stars Meryl Streep as an elderly woman who has lost her husband, played by Jim Broadbent, many years ago, but she has dementia and she's plagued by these hallucinations of him. She thinks that she's real, she's not quite sure, and throughout the film she has to deal with that loss and try and move on with her life. Oh, and the elderly lady is actually Margaret Thatcher as well. I forgot to mention that, sorry. And there lies the problem. Margaret Thatcher is a highly controversial political figure. She is the first and only female Prime Minister in the United Kingdom. Even now, many years after she's gone out of power, people still have very strong feelings for her, whether it's very positive or very negative. The majority of people still have very strong feelings about her. A lot of interesting things happened in her political career, and she made some very interesting decisions. There is a lot of potential for drama there, but the film is much more interested in the story of a sweet elderly woman with dementia and family issues. Don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily hate all films about sweet elderly women with dementia and family issues. Poetry was my number 4 film of the year last year, and that fits those criteria exactly. But Poetry had so much more subtlety to it, and it really said something about the human condition, and it dealt with its characters with dignity and respect. The sections in The Iron Lady dealing with the elderly Margaret Thatcher felt overwrought and sentimental, and I really didn't care, to be honest. Now, primarily the film is dealing with that section of Margaret Thatcher's life, but throughout the film she is looking back and reliving old memories to help her kind of let go of her husband and move on with her life. And to do that, the film goes into flashbacks. We see the character as a young woman, and then as she meets her husband, gets into politics, and becomes the political leader that she becomes, and then eventually her downfall and loss of power. The problem I found with these flashbacks were that they felt like tools to punctuate the main story and to kind of frame it in a way, and the film never really focused too much on those sections of her earlier life. Every time it went into one of these flashbacks, it started becoming compelling. It would talk about the IRA bombings and the hunger strikes. It would talk about the mining strikes and unemployment. It would talk about the Falkland Islands and the war that they had there. The fact that she is a female politician, which in a very male-dominated world. And those sections were compelling, but as soon as it would get into any kind of depth or detail or anything of any interest, it would swerve back away to the original story of the elderly Margaret Thatcher. The way it seemed to me was that the filmmakers knew that she was a highly controversial political figure, but they didn't want to deal with it. They wanted to show a human story of someone that everyone can empathise with, and therefore they tried to avoid, to the best of their ability, all of those interesting political things about her and not really deal with them. Just quickly swerve away from them when they got anywhere near anything of any heat, anything of any controversy. And by doing that, I feel cheated out of a good story, because those bits, I wanted to know more about them, I wanted to know more, tell me more, but they were relentless with bringing you right back to this boring story of an old woman again. Ultimately, by doing that, they give you an incomplete portrait of this woman, and so I never felt like I really knew everything. I felt like I was being shown certain information and having other information withheld from me, so I could never really fully attempt to create an image of her in my mind and really try and fully understand her. Therefore, when you get to the sections at the end where you have some sort of emotional release and some catharsis, I didn't really care, because I didn't really believe in this woman. Honestly though, it's not all bad. The performances are great, and I would recommend the film just for the performances alone. You need to see Meryl Streep's performance of Margaret Thatcher. It's absolutely spot on, and she deserves she deserves the recognition that she's got from the Academy. She probably deserves to win the Oscar for it. And Olivia Colman's wonderful again. She was great in Tyrannosaur last year, and I love her in this as well. And Jim Broadbent's very good as well. I'd also say that the film is well directed, and the dialogue is well written, even though the structure of the script itself was a huge problem for me. So it isn't difficult to sit through in that way. I just found it kind of boring and tedious every time it went back to the elderly Margaret Thatcher. I'm going to give the film a 2 out of 5. Whether you agree or disagree with anything I've said in the review, please leave a comment down below and I'll definitely try and get back to you. And please like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching.